What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 30 of the Secret Restaurant Podcast. Today we'll be looking back upon the years of accomplishment, or rather 1.5 years of accomplishment, which has taken place before your very eyes. And, looking back upon this 1.5 years, I think people are going to really understand the depths of conversation which have been taking place inside of my own brain. Speaking of which, I am your host, Nathaniel Hoyle. Nate Hoyle. But yeah, dude, I listened to the first episode again, and it's kind of fitting to be talking about it now because I've got some more things to talk about it, if you know what I'm talking about. It's interesting. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious when you listen to the old ones that I was pretty insecure about speaking out loud by myself. But I think the biggest difference back then was that back then I used to be talking to myself. But now I am talking to you. One major difference was that I used to record laying down a lot because if you have listened to this podcast, I have an injury that has been getting better. Thanks for asking. But yeah, I have like a pretty serious back issue. And by the time I was leaving Chicago, it was pretty messed up. And I would record laying down on the couch, which probably was also equally bad. But that was one thing. So I think you can kind of listen to it. And then my voice sounds like I'm like drunk, which I wasn't. And the other thing is I was living in an apartment that you could hear everyone in the entire building really easily. And that kind of stressed me out since I wasn't very confident to speak in the first place. You could pretty much hear all sorts of people talking all the time. Or there'd be the instance where someone comes in the front door and then they come up the first floor stairs and then you can hear their creaking stop as they pause. And you're like, are they just pausing for some random reason, or are they trying to eavesdrop? Dude, the lady in the apartment across the hall from us, Errol and I, we lived in an apartment in Chicago for 3 years. She had like a doorbell camera up that was in her back door, and it literally was pointing right into our kitchen. Like, of course, if you called her out on it, she'd be like, well, it's just for my door. But those doorbell cameras could see really far. And it was, I don't know how long it was there. It was like pointing right into our kitchen window, and then the blinds were up. Dude, who knows how long she had been pointing her camera right in there where I was cooking with a craft beverage, just sipping on it every free moment I had. But, yeah, so I was pissed. I tried closing the blinds, and then our blinds were like caked with grime because when we moved into that apartment, it was a fucking mess, dude. Disgusting. And so we had to order new blinds for maintenance. They switched them out, but for the time being, I think we honestly just put a curtain up. Dude, I was pissed. I wanted to say something. I was like, it's not worth it. And then by the end of the time we were there, she literally had Ring cameras on like 4 or 5 windows pointing out into like the sidewalk. It's like, you're not fucking Scarface, bro. Like, why do you need to surveil every single window? Like, what? That makes me think, what's going on in your apartment, dude? Like, why are you all of a sudden all paranoid? Yeah, man, like, you have a camera, I'm supposed to just trust you. Well, it's for our own safety. It's like, shut the fuck up. Now you're fucking viewing when I come and go from my apartment by pointing your camera at me. I'm just supposed to trust you because you've got the surveillance instrument. Yeah, dude, I wanted to, like, get my own camera and just, like, point it back. Like, oh, you feel safer when I'm pointing a camera at you, seeing when you come and go from your apartment? What an asshole. Anyway, we've got a great show today. Timothy Chalamet is here, sitting courtside of the show and sporting his signature propeller hat. That man can make anything look good, can't he, Nate? Yes, oh yes. But, so I've been reading that A.B. Spellman poetry collection, which, as I mentioned in the past and maybe very recently, I can't remember, it was a book that I had discovered because in the very first episode of the Secret Restaurant podcast, I saw him read at a Louisville literary convention, which is how I discovered him, with Ariel there too, because she read, and that's why I was there. It's pretty funny though, because I saw him read, and well, he's a poet and jazz critic. Like, he's a famous jazz critic, and he is probably, I think, 89 now. So he's been writing about jazz since, like, it was really, really popular. I know jazz is still active and happening in a more underground way, but he was apparently living in, like, New York City when the heavy hitters were doing their greatest experimental discoveries. So I asked him afterwards what is the greatest jazz musician he saw live, from his opinion, being a critic and being out in the clubs seeing jazz bands when it was probably at its peak. And he said John Coltrane, so I'll never forget that. And then it's interesting because there's at least 2 poems, if not more, here that are kind of homages or letters to Coltrane. And then actually, interestingly enough, the poet I talked about 2 episodes ago, her name's Wanda Coleman. She had a Coltrane poem too. I've listened to a few of his albums, but I mostly know him from John Coltrane. I mostly know him from the Miles Davis small band work, which is obviously canon, obviously entry-level jazz, but those albums are just perfect. Kind of Blue is the classic, but I always loved Roundabout Midnight by Miles Davis. So the arrangements, I wish I could remember off the top of my head. Maybe they were originally written by Thelonious Monk, and then Miles Davis did a rendition of at least that song in this album, with both Coltrane on saxophone and Miles on trumpet. But that album is one of the few albums that has made me cry. I don't want to sound like a douche or whatever. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. I just remember being in my apartment in Minneapolis and going through some shit. And I was probably also a little bit stoned, but just remember putting that Roundabout Midnight album on. The first track is Round Midnight, and the opening kind of sounds like a dreary city, rainy city night. Like you can picture the cars passing by on the rainy streets. It's very melancholy. And then Miles Davis comes in with like this kind of muted trumpet melody that's just like beautiful and sad, and I started fucking weeping, man. That's never happened to me before. Like, I don't think it's happened since. I mean, there was probably a lot going through my mind at the time anyway, but dude, I was like sobbing. So fucking weird. But yeah, A.B. Spellman, I wanted to talk to him after the reading. I'm always afraid of annoying people. But Ariel and I got to talk to him maybe 5 minutes or so, and then I didn't want to overstay my welcome, but it was nice to talk to him. I had a lot of curiosities. I've never read his jazz criticism, but now I have read his poems, which at the time this book hadn't come out yet. So he signed like a sticker with the cover of the book, and then I put it in a safe place. And then when the book was released, I ordered it and put the sticker in the front page of the book, which is just as good. I'm trying to remember what else we talked about. I remember him saying back in New York City, when he would go to the jazz clubs, which this was back in like the 50s, he said you could sit through the first set, and that's where like all of the people who aren't huge jazz fans are there just for entertainment. And then the second set was when all the craziness started to happen. All the experimentation and dancing and fun. And I don't think he actually said this out loud, but I think he was implying that the second set was the one where all of the white people left. And then the party would go on all night. And I'm sure, if I were alive back then, I've never annoyed anyone or said anything stupid or done anything stupid in my entire life. And so I probably would have been out all night too, just having a great time with my pasty face bobbing to the rhythm of the music. But the collection is called Between the Night and Its Music, New and Selected Poems. And it covers the first book. I'm looking it up right now. The first collection collected is from 1965. And then it goes through new poems that are coming out now. And he's still publishing, judging from what he was saying in the reading. So he's still publishing now. So it must be 1965 till 2025, so you do the math on that. It's under 200 pages, but I think it's very abridged. And it collects maybe 2 full collections and then 2 more sections of new and selected poems. And they're not always about jazz, they're about a lot of things. There's a lot of jazz references to jazz musicians or things about music. For example, calling sections tunes or referencing love songs, referencing musical aspects. But it's a lot of life too. It's a lot of city life. It's a lot of romance. It's a lot of biblical references too. Yeah, but thinking about it, it's just bringing me back to my question of collected works, selected works, and a career in retrospect. Because this book, Between the Night and Its Music by A.B. Spellman, is studying the career of an artist who also was studying the careers of other artists, in which I mean jazz musicians. And these poems can be taken separately from any jazz criticism, I believe. But what I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I likened reading these huge collections that span a period of time in order as sort of a form of time traveling. And I think that since this book is written by someone who was also there during a boom of an influential type of music and an influential time in America, period, reading these poems and thinking about the concept of traveling through time from 65 until 2025, and then even earlier than that, because he writes about earlier than that. That sort of history, I think, enriches the experience as well. When you read books that were written along a certain period of history and kind of engaging a certain period of history and an important discussions of history, whether it be jazz music or civil rights or whatever, that kind of makes the poems a little bit more important in what you're looking at. It's another layer of it when you're looking at the poems, whether it be from 65 or 2025. There's a pretty big difference in the politics and what's going on in the world between those 2 years. Although obviously a lot of the heart of the issue remains. But yeah, I did play cornet in middle school for a little bit. I played, I think, 3 years from 5th grade to 7th grade. And then I wanted to just focus on playing guitar, but it's a fun thing. I feel like I didn't really appreciate it because it was a class. You know what would be crazy is since all these fucking books are getting banned from schools. Dude, I saw this headline of a right-wing news site talking about they were critiquing the reading level of students. And I was like, you guys are literally banning books from schools. Like, how are kids supposed to learn how to read if they're discouraged from reading literature. It's like classic playing both sides of the issue. The reading level in certain schools is really low, but we're going to take all of the good books out of them. What are you talking about? But now maybe the textbook fascists, no pun intended, the textbook fascists who are taking books out of schools, now that they're banning them and taking it out of the classroom, maybe there will be a movement of young people wanting to read, having the opposite effect where since it's not in school anymore, it becomes cool. That's what I'm banking on. Can't believe that shit sometimes. When I went to a bookstore, they had a section of books that were banned, a huge table full. And like a lot of them, I kept on going like, what's even in that one that should be taken out of a school? Like, why would that one not be cool? And then there were a couple of them where I was like, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. But for the most part, like their guidelines for choosing what books are in school and what aren't, it's like completely illogical. I don't know who's coming up with these ideas. Bunch of losers, probably. They're literally banning children's books, like picture books. It's like psychotic. But yeah, I used to play the trumpet, though. Let me talk about that a little bit. Let me talk about the trumpet. Nah, dude. Pisses me off. Like, I feel like we need to have an intervention of, like, type A personalities telling them all to fucking chill. Like, who are these people who made a list of vague topics that, like, books, if they even touch the Venn diagram of these topics, they can't be in a school library? What type of type A psychopath thinks of that idea, first of all, and then goes through the list and then enforces it and then commits to it on a very long scheme, planning to change the entire state, the entire country of it? These type A personalities need to be stopped, dude. It's like a mental illness. We need an intervention. Like, people shouldn't be striving to control complete environments. That's psychotic behavior. Like scheming and then controlling a certain area of society that, like, first of all, you probably have no clue about. How many teachers are petitioning to ban books? Probably not very many, and if they are, they're probably not working in public schools. I'm trying to think of which books were actually banned. Dude, the crazy ironic one is Fahrenheit 451. How can you ban a book about banning books? I guess that's the source text. But we gotta get that one first. Otherwise, they might learn something. Yeah, I don't know, man. Things are winding down for this episode, so I suppose I will start to think about how to close it down. Unless there was something else I wrote down I wanted to talk about, which I doubt it. So I'm going to go do something else for a while. And when I get back, you better not still be here. All right, goodbye.